We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. And we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day.
Well, some of you might remember that moment on Capitol Hill back in 1969 when public television's Mr. Rogers testified before the Senate Subcommittee on Communications. They were trying to cut the program's $20 million funded by the federal government down to just $10 million. Well, Fred Rogers was there to explain the benefits of children's shows like his on mental health and education and why they shouldn't cut funding. Mr. Rogers wrapped up his 7 minutes of testimony with words from a song from his show.
Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
Well, that may have been the first time someone had to defend federal funding for public broadcasting, but it certainly wasn't the last. And many still involved are, as Mr. Rogers would say, looking for the helpers. It may not be that much time left to do that, because late last night, the Senate passed H.R. 4. That'd be the Rescissions Act of 2025. Basically, it's a list of things the Trump administration would like the federal government to not pay for anymore. More than $9 billion worth, mostly in well-publicized foreign aid, but also more than $1 billion for public broadcasting like PBS and NPR. That bill now heads back to the House, where it will likely pass later today. And if it does, it will be the first time in nearly 60 years we have not funded public broadcasting in some way. Let's go back to the beginning. In 1967, Lyndon Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act, which created the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and they allocated $9 million to the endeavor. In 1969, Mr. Rogers went to Washington to defend that funding, which you just heard from, which was then up to $20 million, and saw the creation of PBS. In 1971, National Public Radio went live with All Things Considered, still on the air, by the way. 1975, Congress amended that act to insulate public media from political influence. Keep that in mind. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan said, you know what? Taxpayers shouldn't pay for other people's entertainment. And he tried to cut the funding. However, Congress saw it differently, saying public broadcasting provided a special cultural service to the country and actually authorized $80 million more than Reagan asked for. Jump ahead to 1992, the Public Telecommunications Act would reinforce the role of public television and radio as valuable for information and education across the country. And here we are, more than 30 years later, and on the cusp of not funding that valuable resource, as they called it, for the first time. So what would that mean for public broadcasting in Idaho? Joe Paris stopped by Boise State Public Radio this morning, just hours after the Senate voted to defund them, to find out.
Keeping you apprised here on Idaho's NPR news station.
Mics are hot at Boise State Public Radio.
On Morning Edition tomorrow morning.
A National Public Radio, NPR member station.
Good to have you along. Boise State Public Radio News.
We know how important broadcast is, especially in Idaho, where there's limited broadband and cell coverage.
Tom Michael is general manager of BSPR.
Been the GM for 9 years.
Like so many other things in Idaho, it's been a time of major growth.
It's been really exciting to kind of build up the local news team, to add a local show, Idaho Matters, to enter into a regional collaboration on news called the Mountain West News Bureau.
And continuing on this Thursday.
The signature of NPR stations, in-depth reporting on hyper-local topics. But at a moment's notice, these airwaves can transition into lifelines to Idahoans across the Gem State.
So signals on emergency alerts and severe weather come through our station and are disseminated to other commercial and non-commercial stations.
Each and every weekend.
But those signals could be heavily impacted in Idaho and beyond as Congress weighs a final vote to zero out the budget. Something that has been a what if is now close to reality.
Well, it's always on the radar. I mean, we should talk about it if we're part of the public trust. And we do serve public mission, always eager to talk about it. It's been debated for 60 years. It's had bipartisan support for 60 years. Boise State Public Radio has been around almost 50 years. We started in 1977.
Since then, Boise State Public Radio and other NPR affiliates have told impactful stories, bringing the voice of the voiceless in some of the smallest pockets of the state. The whole NPR and PBS system faces criticism from Republican majorities in Congress for becoming a partisan news commentary.
Yeah, I don't see that. I see bipartisan support, again, across both political parties. A poll was just released yesterday, support for public media. And then I often follow up and say, what have you seen, what have you heard that you don't agree with? Sometimes it's national programs. Often it is. I don't often have extended conversations where they say, hey, your local report said X, and this is incorrect. If we're ever incorrect, we do the just thing. We will say, hey, we made a mistake here.
Well, in Boise and the Treasure Valley.
Signals here are just a portion of the audio waves that could soon be turned down.
Here we are, Boise State Public Radio. Again, 27 signals across the state. Federal funding makes up 20% of our budget. It allows us to do all these things. There's other stations too. KISU at Idaho State University in Pocatello, it's 25% of funding. Then take a moment to think about Lapwai, Idaho, right? Just south of Lewiston, KIYE. It's a tribal station. It's on the Nez Perce reservations. If you ever take a river trip and get off the river and drive in your vehicle back toward Boise, you might hear Daniel Spalding on the radio doing lessons in the Nimiipuu language. That over 50% of funding for that station is CPB related. How does an operation like that continue?
Later this evening at 6:30.
For now, it's wait and watch, while the mission, impactful journalism, continues.
And a big thank you for your support. We need it now more than ever.
But I feel our reporters are accurate, fair, and we're not always often first to a story, and that's okay, because we want to get it right.
So again, it'll vary from station to station, operation to operation. But Boise State Public Radio, Brian, for example, their federal funding is about 20% of their entire budget. So,
okay.
I mean, you can imagine with any budget, if you lose 1/5 of your entire overall operational budget, it's going to have major impacts.
Well, you mentioned that. I mean, that's bigger than what it is on average across the country, where it's like 8 to 10%, and of the entire budget of NPR, it's 1%. It's federally funded by just 1%. But as you get into these smaller units, yeah, it becomes a bigger chunk of that pie, which is surprising.
And these are not operations that are designed to make money in the sense
right.
that, like, you can understand in these small pockets of Idaho, it's a public service. And you may be wondering, so, okay, 20%, where does the rest of the money come from? That's from, listeners supporting it.
Those donation campaigns you might hear on some of those radio stations. Okay, I'm sure they're keeping tabs on what's going on with this bill right now, right?
Oh, yeah, no, as we were walking into Boise State Public Radio today, Tom was actually on the phone with Congressman Simpson's office saying, hey, I know you have this vote coming up, we really badly need your support, because it's a very narrow margin.
Okay, well, we also reached out to Congressman Simpson's office. Thanks, Joe. And that brings us to how Idaho's delegation voted on this bill, beginning with late last night in the Senate. Say, here's the vote. It happened just before 12:30 this morning, local time. And you could see Senator Jim Risch walking up to the desk there to give, there's his thumb, no, there he is walking up right there, okay, and you'll see him give his thumbs up to the clerk, voting yes on this bill to pass it. Just to his left, to the left of the screen, there's Senator Mike Crapo looking toward the camera a little bit there. He will also give his thumbs up to this vote. Senator Risch walking away, yep, checking his watch, because yes, it is that late, Senator, out there. So all of them calling in favor of this vote, 51-48, it passes. We reached out to both Senators Crapo and Risch to ask them about their votes, and we were told Risch was, well, not available today. Nothing yet from Senator Crapo, although he did send out a statement this morning touting the cuts to foreign aid, but said nothing about public broadcasting, which is what we wanted to ask him about. So now that amended bill heads back to the House for that chamber's approval, something they already did last month by 2 votes. Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson and Russ Fulcher, they both voted yes on this bill, which is somewhat interesting and surprising for Congressman Simpson, since earlier this year, he was on the receiving end of the Champion of Public Broadcasting Award from America's public television stations. Here he is, posing for a picture with the CEO of that nonprofit, that'd be Kate Riley, back in February, getting the organization's highest honor, what they give to champions in Congress for their extraordinary support of public education. An unwavering supporter, they called him, ensuring all Americans have access to essential local services provided by public television. An award he was proud to receive, at least he was back in April.
I like Idaho Public Television, public television in general, but particularly Idaho Public Television. They got some of the best programs on with Outdoor Idaho and Idaho Reports. I watch those as much as I can because they're great programs. not every state feels that same way, Republicans in every state. And that's why you're seeing an effort, I think, by the administration to defund public television. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's important to Idaho, and I think it's important to other rural states. And I understand the concern with National Public Radio, but we shouldn't defund this. It's important. It's important to Idaho, and I think it's important to our citizens.
We shouldn't defund this, he said. It's important. His vote last month said otherwise. Now, we did reach out to Congressman Simpson's office to ask about this, and we were told he was too busy on the floor today and with committee meetings to speak with us, but that we would be provided with a statement from Simpson after the House votes on this rescinding bill, which, again, could happen any moment. We also reached out to America's public television stations, the guys that gave him that award, to ask if they had any second thoughts on giving Congressman Simpson that award. Still waiting to hear back on that.